Hey everybody, this is Bill. Welcome to the channel and welcome to the Coloring and Pageantry, where in this video we're going to present our weekly top 25. This is week 7 of college football. We'll look to see who's in and out of the top 25 and who's looking for a spot in the rankings. In addition, we'll review who's hot and who's not. But first, let's take a look at who's trying to get in the top 25 and who fell out. We only had 2 teams fall out of the top 25 this week. That was Baylor. We had them at 18th. They got beat up at Morgantown and Country Roads, West Virginia, and Kansas, who gave up a ton of points to Oklahoma. But, man, you had to expect Oklahoma was going to bounce back from the chicanery that's been going on there with the Sooners. Now, the teams that are looking again, Florida State's lost 3 in a row, but they played Clemson very tough at home. One of the first teams to rush for 200 yards on Clemson in many a moon, so they're on the verge of getting better. We think they may win out. So we got Florida State looking to get in. Kansas, of course, they're having a great season. Purdue may be in first place over in the West, along with Illinois, who's ranked. They're going to play in a couple weeks. We're going to want to see that. LSU, looks like they've kind of found some stride there. They won at Florida. Oregon State's looking good. Maryland is better this year. Washington, they've had a decent season so far. South Alabama, remember, they almost beat UCLA on the road, and they have only lost that game. So we got our eyes on the Jaguars down there. Texas Tech is a good football team. UCF is now 5-1. Their only loss was to Louisville. South Carolina, we like Beamer ball. They're building. Texas A&M with Jimbo Fisher. Boy, you got to believe they're dangerous. Florida Gators, they're still in there. They have they can be good, so you got to keep your eye on them. We, of course, have Baylor that fell out, and Tulane is having a very good season. They beat Kansas State in Manhattan, and Kansas State is ranked. So those are the teams that are outside looking in. So checking the top 25 this week, Arkansas comes in at 25th. They're 4-3. This is a good football team. They won at BYU. They've lost some games. Their schedule is terribly tough. But we like Arkansas. Now, North Carolina State, their quarterback, Devin Leary, out for the year, we now learn. A tough blow for the Wolfpack, but they had their chance against Clemson and lost there. So hopefully they salvage the season. But without Leary, that could be a tough one. They did lose at Syracuse this past week. Mississippi State is a very good football team at 5-2, another team with a very tough schedule. North Carolina, we're not quite sure how good they are, but they are 6-1, so we got to look at them. Cincinnati, another team, much the same, 5-1. Penn State ends up at 20th. They lost at Michigan this week, kind of getting exposed. Now, Illinois is 19th. Brett Bielema has done a fantastic job with the Illini. They have Chase Brown. He's already rushed for over 1,000 yards, and Illinois is already bowl eligible. Texas is 18th. We got to wonder what might have happened there if Quinn Ewers hadn't have got hurt. Syracuse, undefeated, beat up on NC State last week. Very impressive. They're 6-0, ranked 17th. Kentucky's a good football team. Don't discount the Wildcats, and they got Tennessee coming up, so watch out for Kentucky. Kansas State is 15th. We have them. They're 5-1. Utah scored a big home victory over Southern Cal. They went for 2 late, held off the Trojans. So they got a home victory. They're 5-2, but we got them 14th. Wake Forest is 13th. Wonderful quarterback with Sam Hartman. They can score some points. That's a veteran football team. Keep your eye on the Demon Deacons. Now, Oklahoma State had a big lead at TCU, but they ended up falling in overtime 43-40. That's incidentally the same score that Baylor lost at West Virginia. You don't often see a 43-40 score, but we saw 2 of them this week involving top 25 teams. But Oklahoma State let one get away. The Horned Frogs coming up with the victory, so Oklahoma State falls to 12th. Southern Cal, the aforementioned game, losing at Utah, now has a blemish. They're 6-1. We have them 11th. And at 10th, we have the Oregon Ducks. Eugene will be the site of game day this week as UCLA comes to town. Oregon playing pretty good football now after getting blasted by Georgia in the opener. But the Ducks, they're 10th with a big game this weekend. Game day in the house. UCLA, as we just mentioned, we have them. They're undefeated, 9th. Texas Christian, the big win we just spoke about, at home against Okie State, beating the Pokes. They're 6-0. They're 8th. Ole Miss is 7th, 7-0. Lane Kiffin got the Rebels rolling. Michigan, we got them at 6th. They were higher last week. They did struggle a little bit. I mean, we don't think Penn State's that great, but Michigan did run for over 400 yards on the Lions. The Lions hadn't given up yardage like that in Miniamoon, Michigan, using the running game, looking strong. Alabama lost at Tennessee, an in-season loss for the Crimson Tide. We knew Tennessee could score points. We thought Alabama would score points. And what a wonderful game this was. Everyone had their eyeballs on this one. What a great game. Tennessee, Hendon Hooker's a fantastic quarterback. They got the win there. So Alabama, we got them falling to 5th. Now Clemson is 4th. They won at Florida State. We did not have Clemson ranked that high as most in the preseason, and we looked at 3 different things. The quarterback play was not good last year, and we just didn't know if it was going to dramatically improve. And Clemson lost both of their coordinators, offensively and defensively. That's a lot to overcome, but folks, Clemson is playing well. The quarterback play is improved. The play calling looks good. That defense is still as ferocious as ever. Clemson looking good. They're undefeated 7-0. We've got the Tigers back in the playoff contention at 4th. Tennessee, their big win at Alabama. Rocky Top still partying up there. My goodness. Peyton Manning was in the house. Did you see? What a heck of a show. The Volunteers, they dumped the goalposts in the Tennessee River. They're going to get fined. They don't care. The Vols, Rocky Top. Ohio State is 2nd. Very good football team, especially on offense. They have not really been in a game yet, but they've got some coming up. Michigan, the big get. That's going to be something now. We're going to have our eyes on that too. Georgia takes over number 1. No more meddling around for the Dogs. They laid waste to Vanderbilt, shutting them out 55-0. The Dogs are our number 1 team this week. So when thinking about what teams are hot, we got to go back to Tennessee. Now, prior to the season, we noted Tennessee would be a team that could and should light up the scoreboard if their talented quarterback Hendon Hooker remained healthy. Well, folks, he is. The Vols are rocking on Rocky Top, and they're undefeated and in a prime playoff position after winning that home shootout with Alabama. The defense, the main question mark coming in, made plays that they needed to against the powerhouse Tide. Now, Georgia's coming up down the line, but right now, Rocky Top's hotter than a firecracker, appropriately so. Also want to mention Texas Christian, new coach Sonny Dykes out there, seemingly out of it at home against Okie State. I think they were down 30-13 at one point. But the Frogs roared back and took out the Pokes in overtime. They're now in control of the Big 12. They've got Kansas State coming up. That'll be a good one. But they've already blasted Oklahoma. You got to think the Frogs are in the driver's seat out there. So who's not hot? Well, we got to start with Notre Dame. Now, last week in this segment, we wondered what on earth was happening at the farm at Stanford. Well, what do the Cardinal do? They travel to South Bend and take out Notre Dame. Now, with that, we have to turn our attention to the Fighting Irish. They opened up playing a very good game against Ohio State. They did lose, but man, they looked good. But they've stumbled to a 3-3 record, with additional losses coming at home to Marshall and Stanford. This is eye-opening. Now, games against ranked Syracuse, Clemson, and Southern Cal remain. But boy, if you can't beat Marshall and Stanford at home, I don't know what's going on. Now, we like their coach. I think that was a great hire. I don't know what's going on. You know, it's early in his tenure, but goodness, Notre Dame does not look very good. All this, good grief, I don't know what's happening there. Another team that's not hot is Penn State. We kind of figured Penn State was sort of a paper tiger coming in. And they did get a win at Purdue early. They came from behind to do that. But while they used a pick six to remain close early, they kind of got exposed at Michigan, giving up over 600 total yards and an eye-opening 418 yards rushing. Now, only Ohio State remains a team the Lions probably can't beat. But while the overall record may be decent, and we can't take that away from them, we don't think the Lions are a very strong football team this year. But they'll be bowling, and they'll kind of look like they are. So that midseason slumber is over at Georgia. We mentioned that. And with the Alabama loss, the Dogs are back at number 1. Now, game day, as we said, is at Eugene as UCLA faces Oregon. This is a bit of a light schedule among top matchups this week. We got Syracuse at Clemson. Texas is at Oklahoma State. Ole Miss LSU is the CBS afternoon game. Kansas State at TCU, we mentioned. Mississippi State at Alabama. Could Alabama possibly lose 2 in a row? Good. That'd be eye-opening to be sure. But those are some games we've got our eyes on for this week. We'd love to hear your thoughts on our rankings. Do drop us some comments. Did we miss anybody? Has somebody caught your eye that we haven't seen? Somebody underranked or overranked? Drop us some comments. Let us know what you're thinking. Now, you can follow us on Facebook at Color and Pageantry if you'd like to. Sure would welcome you there. Also, if you like the videos, do like the video and subscribe to our page if you enjoyed it. But really, folks, we really want to appreciate you watching, and we look forward to seeing you next week. It's going to be somebody's going to get beat as usual. So we'll see you next week.